bother it. It's
Cool.
really loud when it comes in here.
Well, we are live. We're
Oh, we're not
large and in
Memorex.
charge. I'm gonna jump. I'm just going out to my laptop so I can take take a look at the live feed. See that way, if I see any chats or anything, I can we can talk to the people. But yeah, yeah. So welcome everyone. It's the Joe and Woody streaming session. Uh, I had someone that said they loved the music, the intro music. So they said
Nice.
it was very like goofy, and I went, well, Joe and I are goofy people, so
That
but
is true.
but yeah, yeah. So where we left off yesterday was, and let me share. I'll share my screen.
Where we left off yesterday was Woody was sharing his screen,
Yeah,
but
and now I'm sharing it again.
talk
Um,
about continuity.
yeah, it's the same where we left. So we had logged that new issue, but you know what? I never did last night. I got so busy, and this morning I got so busy that I I never tested to see if the SQL scripts that I generated to first Microsoft SQL Server for the baseball history database
Bad Woody.
actually bad Woody. Man, I've got you know what? Does it feel like, you know, both of us are in between jobs, and it almost feels like I'm busier right now on a daily basis than if I had a job.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of busy. Like you're
Yeah.
doing, at least with me, I'm doing stuff that I want to do and stuff I want to learn. Where,
Yeah.
versus being in a meeting or, with at my level being, a VP, et cetera, spend a
Yeah.
lot of time in meetings. So
Yeah.
get more stuff done. And it's definitely more exhausting by the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just a lot of and and I'm a type of person, I come up with new ideas and I'm like, "Oh, I got to do that."
Every other
So
five
then
minutes, by the way, for
yeah,
those watching.
I do. I am notorious for new ideas, and yeah,
Woody's
that's
trying to
that
set a record for the number of domains owned. I think he's at 3,742 now, or something like that.
maybe. Maybe. So, yeah, I looked up the cost of a domain that I kind of want to get, and it's only $2,000.
Probably ends in one of the
Nope,
boutique extensions.
nope, nope.
Someone
It's
already
a
has
dot
it.
com. It's a dot com.
So someone
Someone
already
already
has
has it. Someone has it, and they're willing to sell it, but I can't afford $2,000.
it.
If I
Yeah.
did, I'd have to pay for lots of legal fees because my wife would divorce me probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, so where we left off yesterday was we had work to aspire the baseball history solution. Now, one interesting thing is, um, and I'm going to tell the team to wake up just to, in case they were sleeping or they got bored because I wasn't interacting with them for like the last 23 hours. In this solution, as you can see, there's three projects. There's a web, a test, those were original, and then we have Aspire. But we don't have the second usual Aspire project. So did did the team not do something correctly, Joe?
I don't think so. I think that, and what he's referring to is in the earlier stages of Aspire, there was this project created called Service Defaults that had a bunch of extensions in it that would configure things like open telemetry, health checks, etc. I think those are all kind of built in right now because you have that
Okay.
there, that the dot with HTTP health check. It kind of automatically adds it, and since you're not using a lot of other stuff in there, it didn't need
Yeah.
most of the
Sure.
stuff that is normally
Sure.
in there.
And as of right now, I don't have a health check in here. So
You
should I?
don't, but Aspire automatically adds one
Oh,
when
excellent.
you use
Well,
it. That's
that's
why it
good to
has with
know.
that health check endpoint. You can give it whatever you want, but
Okay.
that's one of the benefits of using Aspire. It can add health checks. Now, all it's going to do is just ping back that, yes, this
The-
endpoint exists. It doesn't do anything like checking
yeah.
databases or stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You'd have to add that yourself.
Yep.
But it
Yep.
adds that and it also adds telemetry to it. So when you start your app now, you'll notice that in your configuration or your startup for
For the
in
web.
Rider, it's listed as baseball history dash web HTTPS because that's how you formally started the program. There would be a new one now in there that is the Aspire host that will start Aspire. And what will that will do if you go back to that apphost.cs.
Yep.
What Aspire does is basically says, okay, we're creating a distributed application, passing in any arguments that allows you to do things like start it from the command line and then add optional arguments to override stuff. And then the first thing it's doing on line 3 is saying, okay, builder, let's add a project. Now it has projects.baseball underscore history web. Now there is technically no namespace called projects. That's a little helper thing that Aspire adds. And the baseball underscore history underscore web is that project. So internally, it's mapping it to that baseball history web project. And then there's a name parameter. And that name parameter is important because you'll see that being used when we start the app.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
it's turning on external endpoints, making it where you to listen on port 80 or 443 or what have you, and then endpoints.
Yeah.
Then the last step, number 7 or line 7, says run this. So it's basically going to launch that baseball web project.
Yep.
And you're probably saying, why bother doing that right now? And you're right, there's really no reason to do that right now for this one. But like Woody was alluding to yesterday, we kind of want to, he wants to replace the database. So we're going to show how Aspire allows you to do that pretty easily.
Yeah. So the other thing that the team didn't do was create. Usually, Aspire will create new configurations.
Uh,
Correct.
As-
At least the
Aspire
old, maybe.
will in the dot and Visual Studio will. In Rider, the Aspire plugin, I think will do that. If you go to edit configurations, you probably will see it there. That thing you had highlighted. Nope, don't. So you click add, and then there should be an Aspire one somewhere down there. Here it is.
There we go. Project or single file project.
Project, because you're not using single file
Yeah.
for this. And then change it to HTTPS for the launch profile. Third one down. One more. There you go.
Oh yeah. Yep. You're right. Yep.
And then give it a name. I usually do Aspire HTTPS. So what that's going to do is now create a launch profile that will start it up on port 17162. And then it's going to open up whatever default browser is. So if you just click that and then hit the little drop down next to run or go from there and do debug. So that's going to start the Aspire app, and then Aspire is going to launch that. But what you'll end up noticing, and this varies between Rider and Visual Studio, is that in Rider, it's just going to display, you need to generate new certificates.
Yep. So, but it did bring up this.
Yeah, don't click on that yet.
Yeah. Clean this operation. Huh, that's weird. Okay. So let's.
While Woody's sharing his password to the world, or the 3 viewers of this, so what ended up happening is the Aspire or the run/debug launched 2 processes. So if Woody clicks on the play button or the stop button in Rider, he'll see that there are 2 projects basically started. The first is the Aspire app host, and then the second is the web. Oh, he clicked the stop button.
That's what you told me to do.
I told you to do it in Rider, not there. But what that did was essentially
Here.
stop the code. Nope.
Yeah. No,
It's
no,
too late
no,
now.
it's fine.
You see, don't stop them. I just said
Don't
click the
stop.
button.
Okay.
Boy, you got listening problems. Open
I
up
know.
those
I
ears.
do. I do.
What I want to
Okay.
show you is that there
So
were
we're
2
back.
projects started. So go
Oh.
back to that stop button on Rider. Click it
Yes.
once. There you
Yes.
go. Now you see it says stop baseball history and stop Aspire. So Aspire started, and then it launched off the web project, because that's the only project that we have in here. So now we can go back to the dashboard, which is in that web browser. And here it's listing all the resources that are in Aspire. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Oh, I haven't upgraded, so we'll have to upgrade.
Well, a new version came out this morning or last
Yeah.
night. Can you
Yeah.
zoom in on the browser a little bit? It's hard to read
Yeah.
the fonts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see resources, parameter, and graph. Now, with this app, that's not really going to show much because there's no dependencies outside of the SQLite database, but because we didn't register the SQLite database with Aspire, it doesn't know anything about it. The resources will list out every project. So for this project, there's only 1, but like for the project I'm currently working on, let me see if I have it running. I'll show that in a second once it's done running. You'll see a list of all the different projects and be able to go to it. Now on the left-hand side, we have something called resources, which is this page we're on now. And then if you click on console, that's going to kind of show you everything that's running in the console. So you can see that there is a, excuse me, a logger entry that logged out the last SQL statement that was run.
Yep.
And then up top, you can filter it by resource. In this particular case, there's only 1 resource. But if Woody's using structured logging in here, he can click on structured underneath to the left, underneath the console. You're on the left.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But I don't have any structured logs.
Yeah, so with this,
Yes.
it can also do some telemetry will pop up in here as far as reviews and everything. And then traces will be the same thing. And then metrics, you can kind of see performance things that you are assigning. But right now, since there's nothing structured, it can't provide that. Let me share my screen to show it a little bit different.
Sure. You can take over. There you go.
So let's click the share screen, and then Which tab do I want? Let's do window, and then I'm going to do this window. So I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So this is a different project with a lot more resources. So you see here it has Azure Storage, and then there's a blob storage component, a queue storage, and a log table. These are names I gave it. I can call it anything I want. This is actually a pointer to an Azure table storage resource, as you see if you look at the tooltip, but I named it log table because that's the only thing I'm doing. I then have a SQL Server container that runs one database called JJGNet. Then there's an Azure Function product, and then another for the API, and another for that. So if we look at the console, you'll see there's a lot more logging here. And I can filter on it to see, well, what happened with the database. So database itself doesn't log anything, but if I look at the server, see everything that's happened on the server. This is basically the database server starting up. I can then go to log table and see if there's been any calls made to it. Nothing yet. Nothing made to queues. And then this is the Azure storage starting up. So you see it started, it created the dev store and a couple other things. So if we look at the web app, we'll see the web app start up. But this is just the console. It kind of gets a little nasty and funky with it. So we go over to structured, you'll see something a little bit more well defined. So that's color coded by project, and then there's the level types. So this will honor open telemetry and general structured logging. It has trace, debug, info, warning, error, and fatal. So like any grid, you can sort by it. You can click on and open it. I can see that it's now listening on these ports. I want to click details. It just shows that message. If there's a trace with it, meaning that multiple things work together for it, it'll show it here. So I'm going to filter by the web and see that there are 4 pieces. So let me go and start the web project. Once that pops up here, I should see, funny, I got a breakpoint on a different window. So I'm actively trying to figure out a problem with this site. But if we look here at my console or structured, see, I got more things. I got now 2 additional warnings, but you notice I got this trace ID that kind of shows everything together. So this kind of links our project. So if you've used Application Insights before, or things like Datadog that use OpenTelemetry, this concept of trace, that kind of correlates all IDs and work together. So here was a trace, went to the database. If I click on it, I can see the call was this SQL Server, this database, and then what transpired. In this case, it was just a monitoring for OpenTelemetry, and then another call here. So you can kind of narrow it down. The database is still loading, so I'm not going to really see much. And then with metrics, I can look at the web, and then I get a whole bunch of metrics because the Azure, or because I added the health checks and the OpenTelemetry, I can see how much memory is being used. I can see everything that you would basically be able to see if you had a monitor on here. I can see my DNS resolution, anything that you can get from .NET, you can see here. I look at the API, I can get something very similar. So it's really cool that you can do it. Oh, I got an update too. There was an update last night, like I said. I haven't applied it yet to this project. If I click on traces, I can kind of see the 6 or 7 different traces that there were. And there's one here that lists an API problem. So I can go here and see that there was a post, and my post to, where is it? Oh, opposed to application insights failed. So I can go through and look at that and I can see what the actual exception was. Oh, it's so useless, that thing there. There's a better exception viewer versus the tab display. But I can look through all the messages and see what was happening. In this case, it was an HTTP request exception. I think that's because I have an ad block on my computer, so it just kind of denied that. And I was just about to wrap up, but Woody left. So, oh, there he is.
No, I'm back. I just had to
that's-
shut the door.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more around the dashboard. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just that. There's filters and everything, but it shows you what it looks like when you have multiple projects going on.
And you
my
have lots
share.
of Azure resources, and you're using Azure to do stuff, kind of like your functions, right? Those are Azure functions.
Yep, it's an Azure function out there. There's an API, a website, as well as using Azure storage. There's also Azure Event Bus that's used, but there's no provider for. Well, there is a provider, but there is no local development for that yet. So it would have to connect.
No
to-
emulator. Yeah.
There is an emulator, but there's no plugin to work with an
Oh.
emulator yet within Aspire.
Gotcha.
Because the
Gotcha.
emulator is not an official emulator.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, let me go back to sharing my screen. So boring, my really boring one resource, Aspire. It's not very aspiring, but it is what it is. Let's should we shut down and show them how to add?
Yeah, let's go and add the
Okay.
database to it. So a caveat with this, or not necessarily a caveat, but just some working guidance. In order for you to use this effectively, you need Docker to be running, or containerization. You can use Docker Desktop or Rancher if you want for your interface, but Docker runtime needs to be available because it's going to create containers and stuff.
Yep.
So,
Which are going to hit if you don't have a machine that has quite a bit of RAM. Yeah, you need a machine that has, I would say, at least 32 gig of RAM. So
yeah, and you can tweak the settings within Docker
You can.
to say how much memory it uses and everything else, but I would hope that most engineers nowadays have at least 32 gig of RAM.
yep.
Okay, so in order to get started, we need to add, and remember, Woody is using SQLite to this, so we're going to do two things. We're going to add Aspire to, we're going to add SQL to the project, and then we have to go and kind of change the backend database from using SQLite to Aspire. So let's, or SQLite to SQL Server.
Yep.
So let's go and add to, no, do it before line
Do
2.
it before. Okay.
Yep. And the reason for that is you're basically, like I mentioned yesterday, we're orchestrating the app. So we're kind of building the little components of it. Once you build the components, you can set up relationships to it. We're going to eventually, when we build the SQL, we are going to tell we're going to tell Aspire that we need the SQL Server to be run first and be available in order for the web app to run. And the reason why you do that is you don't want your website starting and then you're starting to go through and debugging, but the SQL Server's not up. So before
want
you
SQL
actually,
Server, yeah, you're right. Sorry for interrupting.
no worries. Before you actually type any code, we need to add some references to it. So
You tell me how
Go to your
what to
NuGet.
write.
package manager, Alt 7. If you're, depending on what keyboard layout you have, but you need to open up NuGet. So we're going to add in a few different packages. Actually, just one for this. So type in aspire.hosting. Now, everything in the Aspire hosting namespace, you'll see once this pops up. Scroll down a bit. There's a lot more. We're going to add the SQL one, but you notice there's Redis, there's Postgres, there's Azure Storage. Everything with the aspire.hosting are all the different applications or services you can control with Aspire or add to your app. So like there's a MySQL, there's a Dapper, there's YARP, there's DevTunnels. If you name it, if it's a major one, there's probably something for it. So we're going to go and add the Azure SQL to it.
Azure SQL. So,
Or sorry, just SQL Server.
oh, okay. You threw me off. Okay.
Yeah, was
You-
my bad.
So I should add that to Aspire and the web, right?
I think you only need it in Aspire.
web?
It will
Oh.
inherit the need for
Okay.
it. But if you notice, there's 13.2.3, and you're running 13.2.2 probably right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would go back to the command line and just do, I would do aspire-update in that folder now. And the thing that's going to be different with this one now is it's going to find the app host because it already created one and now ask you if you want to update from 13.1 to 13.2. So it's going to update the package and all the libraries that are in it, which right now is just that one. So now we can go back to NuGet and add in 2 more down, 3 more down. 1 more.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
So now we can add that to it.
I already did.
Oh, you already did. Okay.
Yep.
So now we're ready to tell Aspire how to do it. So we are going to first create a DB. So do var replace the builder on line 3 and call it. I typically call it SQL, or you can call it SQL Server. And then we're going to set that to equal builder dot and then add SQL Server. And then give it a name, whatever name you want.
Yeah.
Nope, not the connection
I
string.
know. I'll just call it SQL.
Okay. And then let's get rid of the semicolon. Now this is an optional feature, but this is something I prefer to do. You have the ability. So what will end up happening is every time you run this, if Woody had that semicolon, it's going to create a new container every time and basically recreate the database from scratch. Now, when you're doing development locally, you probably don't want to do that. You don't want to have to keep killing the database or wiping it out and then repopulating it from start. So we're going to tell it to persist the container. So you do that with the dot with lifetime.
Oh.
It's hard to type live.
Yep.
And then service or container lifetime. So now we're going to give it instructions. And you see that there's persistent or session. Session is the default, which means every time you hit play, it's going to basically create it. When the app is done, it's going to kill it. Well, I don't know if it actually kills it, but it'll restart it the next time. So we're going to do persistent. So that's now going to keep the SQL Server instance going. The next thing we're going to do is we want to keep the database so that the database is consistent with us. So we're going to do with the data volume. So this is going to say, okay, when you create a container now, you're going to create a data volume to go along with it. So this is where we are going to store the database. So I would not give it that name, and only because I try to separate what it does, because what it's going to end up doing is create a volume with that name of Lamin or Layman,
Oh
or
yeah,
how it's
yeah.
pronounced. So I would do Lamin data or something like that. Just give the keyword or the data qualifier at the end. This way, when you're looking it up in Docker, you can actually see it. And then we're going
Okay.
to end it there. So semicolon off. So now when we start the app, it's going to build a database, and then it's going to build a SQL Server instance, and then it's going to persist that through multiple times, and that's going to create a data volume called Layman. Now, if I remember correctly, Woody, you're running
Well,
on
I'm gonna change this to just baseball data.
that's
Layman
perfect.
is the the last name of the guy who created all of the original data in the original data project.
Okay.
So there we go.
Now, there's one thing that we notice that we needed to do because Woody is running on a Mac. There's limited versions of SQL Server that can run on that. So we're going to add one more thing to that. So above the with lifetime persistence, yeah, just
Okay.
go to the end of that here. We are going to tell the Aspire runtime or the add SQL to use a certain label or certain image tag when it's building the container. So we do with image tag. And then I would do in quotes 2022 dash latest. That's the latest working one. That's going to build a SQL Server 2022 version for that. So now we have everything. We know we're building SQL Server 2022. If you have an application that only works with SQL Server 2019 or 2015, or God forbid an earlier one, you can put that container tag here. So now we're ready to technically run it. We can see that in Docker it'll be there, but let's save an extra step and now just start building out the database. So after line 6, let's hit enter twice. Now, where do you have the scripts? So you mentioned that there's a script to create the table schema, right? And a script to seed it. Do you have a
Yeah, I
script
can.
to,
Let me put them. Hold on.
so I generally, while he's doing that, I generally, within my root of the project, so all my code generally goes in the slash source because you have the readme and everything else in there. And then I put a scripts folder, which is off the root. And then I'll have a database folder and then add in all the stuff to get started. So what we're going to do while he's kind of looking for that
No,
is
I got it. So just do a new folder called scripts.
wherever you want to put it, it just should be relative. It should be somewhere inside of that solution structure.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is once Woody commits this, I can then pull that down or anyone else. And once I run the project, Aspire will go and automatically create that for me.
There we go.
But in order to do that, we need usually three different files.
Three?
Well, you need something to create the database.
Yeah,
Then you
that's
need the
schema.
schema. Unless the schema has, or what you have, the schema will
Yeah,
create the tables.
yeah. It has everything. So
No,
it
that only
does.
creates the tables. It doesn't create
Oh,
the.
you're right. Hold on.
So I would
Uh,
go to the More Speakers app and just copy out the create database, and we can change the names.
yeah, yeah.
And the number of files doesn't necessarily matter here. What matters is we need to create it because it's a SQL server. We need to create the actual database. We then need to create the tables. We then need to seed the data, which means, pre-populate everything. And, normally you would have some kind of script or something that can read from it, or you would build these scripts yourself because we're migrating from that SQLite database. Woody, I think he said, use Claude Code the other day to generate these.
Hold on. Let me bring it over to baseball. I'm not as quick as you are. Okay, so there should be a new. There we go. Create database.
So let's open it. So let's change the names, from JJG data and all that to baseball. Use lowercase because you're on a Mac, so it's
Yeah. You're right.
since
Just
it's
call
a
it
case
baseball
sensitive.
history.
It's fine. And then
Uh,
change that.
yeah. I'll just. There we go. There we go.
Go up.
Do.
Sorry, scroll back up. Change the JJG net
Oh yeah.
data.
To baseball data.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to be specific, but I wouldn't call it JJG net in case that was the open source project I was showing everyone before, if you're paying attention.
Yeah, but I got that from the more speakers. So just
Did you?
FYI, remember. Yeah, I just copied.
Oh yeah, look at
I
that.
just. Yep.
We gotta change
So
that.
yeah, yeah.
So the rest is all generic for creating roles and everything else.
I'm gonna.
There's already a C. Woodruff 4 lines
Oh
below.
yeah. So you're right.
So
So
you
I
can
don't.
delete lines
Yeah.
27 through that. Change the use to use whatever you called
Use.
it, baseball history, I think. IntelliSense is not going to work because it
Yep.
has to be built and get rid of my create login. So lines 19 through 20.
Oh, we don't. Yeah, we don't need this, do we?
Well, you do need that. You just don't need the login from me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Through
Yep.
20.
Yep.
So that'll create a login locally for that. And this gives Woody a user access to that. So we have everything to create the database. Let's go before we add everything, go to the schema history or history schema and make sure the database name is the same.
The uses. Actually, we don't have.
So what we're going to want to do,
We're gonna do this. We're gonna
no, you don't have to worry about that because what we're going to end up doing is kind of
Well, no, we have to say what database we're using, right?
Uh, technically, you don't. Only because of the order we're doing this. We're gonna execute the create database. We're gonna basically combine these three files into one file and
Yeah.
then send that off. So the last set of statements in the create database or already call use baseball history.
Oh,
It's going to be in that
gotcha.
scheme
Okay.
already,
Okay.
so it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to the app host now. And then on line 8, let's create a variable called path. So I usually do var path equals builder.apphost directory.
What? Varpath equals
Builder
what?
builder
Yeah.
dot
Sorry. Builder dot.
app host directory.
Okay.
And then you can close that, semicolon. So we're just establishing where the path to start with. Now create a variable called SQL text. And obviously you can call this whatever you want,
I
SQL
know.
script, what
Yeah.
have you. And then this is going to equal
Yep.
string concat string dot concat parentheses.
Oh, I hate typing. String concat what?
Now hit enter a little bit because we're going to build a couple. Okay. Do a couple more times so you get some space. So the
Yep.
first thing you can do is file dot read all text. By the way, you can do RAT in Writer or Visual Studio, and that would do it. And then do path dot combine. So what now we're going to do is, yep, that's fine. Just get rid of those last two. Even get rid of the SQL. And then do an, oh no, yeah,
Yeah, I know. I got it. I got it.
put an at each in front of that.
A what?
Because
An at?
yes, because there's going to be some strings in here.
Yep.
So this is what you're doing is saying, give me the relative path of the app host. So this is probably going to run in root of the project slash aspire host or whatever it's called, baseball history dash aspire, and then one more folder down for the bin. So what we're going to do is say dot dot forward slash dot dot. So it's going to say go up 2 levels and then put the first, did you call it scripts was the folder?
Yeah. Scripts.
So scripts slash forward slash. And then the first one we want to run is create dash baseball.sql. Okay, and there should be two colon or 2 close parentheses and then comma. Then after the comma, I usually do a new line so it's clear on this. Hit enter and then do colon or a question mark space question mark comma. Or not question mark, sorry, quote. You're basically putting an empty quote. Get rid of the question mark, please. And then put a space in between those quotes. I don't know what Writer just did. Do quote, space, quote.
Hold on. Let me. Okay.
Comma. Put a comma afterwards.
Yep.
And the reason why we do that is because just in case there's, so what ended up happening the first time I did this, I ended the statement for create database. I ended the file on whatever the last bit of text was. So this forces a space. Otherwise you might get, like I might have a SQL statement that says select blah, blah, blah. And then the next statement is going to load up from whatever.
Yeah, and it
Yeah, and it
concatenates.
just joins them together. So
the
this
end.
forces a
Yeah.
space in case you forget it. Now, copy and paste lines 11 and 12 and copy and paste it twice. And then change create to history schema, and then history data.
I'm gonna do this.
There's actually an easier way to do that in Writer.
Yeah, I know. I'm a mouse guy. Sorry.
Well, you can do it with your
So that-
mouse too. If you go back to that file for a second, just as a
Yeah.
tip, right click, and then under copy path reference, you can do
Oh.
that. And then it will give you the option of absolute path,
Oh.
final
Oh.
path solution.
Awesome. Cool.
And then it'll put whichever one of those on there. Now get rid of that last comma on line 16,
Yep.
and then semicolon. Okay, so now we built this SQL text. So basically what's going to happen is .NET is going to load the contents of create database, add a space, load the contents of history schema, add a space, and then baseball history data. So now we have to tell Aspire that it has to run that. So now we're going to build the database. So do var db equals SQL, right? Because that's what we call the server part. Dot add database, and then give it a name, whatever you want the database name to be called. This is what it's going to look like in SQL.
I'll just call it baseball dash history.
Okay.
Just give it a different name.
Now, no, don't close it. Now we have to tell it to run that script. So we're going to do dot with creation script,
And then,
and then give it that SQL text.
yep.
So what's going to happen now, if we scroll back up a little bit, line 6, I think or line 3, we created a database, or we told Aspire, we're going to add a SQL database named SQL using the container image 2022 latest. We want it to persist and create a data volume within Docker called baseball database. We then are going to create a database on line 19 called database history. We're going to add that database to that SQL server with this creation script. So now by the time we get to line 22, technically it doesn't run until you get until line 26 runs. That actually executes and creates everything.
Yeah.
But in memory, we've now built out this schema that says we have a SQL server, we have baseball history. Now, what we want to do is tell Writer, or sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Writer, tell Aspire that this project needs to wait for the database. So after the between line 22 and 23, so before within point, do a dot wait for, and then
DB. Oh. Yeah.
I think, yeah, because that's what you called it. And then now it's going to wait for it. So now we can run the app or run Aspire. Can you open up Docker before we do?
Yeah.
You have Docker Rancher. I mean, technically you can see it from inside Writer if you don't want to go out or show a different app. Okay, so and unfortunately you can't. I don't think you can zoom in. Can you zoom in?
Yeah, I can't. I don't think
Try
you can.
try Command and then plus.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
A little
does
bit.
work.
Okay, good. Does work. Okay.
So if you see here, there's nothing listed with baseball history. We called it, and what was the name of the server?
Just baseball history.
No, the server. That was a database. We call the data
Uh,
SQL. So we
SQL.
don't see that name anywhere. We might see that image tag, but now let's run the Aspire app. Now, can you keep your web browser? Ooh, what? Oh, good.
Something
So
blew
we
up.
got a runtime error. The file, one of the files was not found, so the location might be funky in there, and this happens. So hit stop. It's probably that path combined. Can you go back to baseball history schema, right click on it, and then do copy path, and then do from solution root, and then just paste that somewhere in a blank spot just to compare
Oh,
the strings.
sure.
So it's scripts. So it might be the extra double dots. Put a break. Get rid of that text.
Yep.
Put a breakpoint on line 10. And let's debug it again. So what we're going to do now is look at the path just to see where that's actually running from. Baseball history Aspire. Oh, so we only need to go up one level.
Okay. Yep.
So
Okay.
get
So
rid of one
let's.
set of the dot dot forward slash. And then run. The reason why the dot dot forward slash didn't work, like I mentioned in my projects, I do all the code runs in dot source. So Woody has everything running in one database, in one flat folder structure. Okay, good. So keep that to the side, or kind of squish that window along with Docker so you can kind of see it working. That's fine right now. You just see it just created one called SQL dash, and then there's like a 6-digit
Yeah.
code. So the SQL is actually the name that Woody gave it. And then the dash 37 blah blah blah. Basically, Aspire creates each project has its own GUID and or global unique identifier. So in order to avoid name conflicts when you're running multiple Aspire apps or other things that might be named
Yeah.
SQL,
We
Aspire
have
will.
another sequel, as you
Yep.
can see up here, with another unique.
Yeah, so it just
Okay.
adds that to ensure it's unique.
Yeah.
So it
So
should be running. What
it
is?
is. It is running. It's just very large. So
Well,
the size of the
it should have just
data.
showed you.
Well, the size of the data script is 71 megs.
Oh,
There's a lot of data
that's a lot to
in it.
run in memory. Well, the good news is because we persisted it, it's only going to run this one time, assuming Woody doesn't go and add or change the script. So it's a one-time deal.
It's a
I don't know if
one-time
it's
deal.
actually
It's
still running or not.
Yep. We don't change any data. This database is really just a read-only database.
Okay.
So it looks like it stopped.
Yeah, but did
So
the actual go back to Writer for a second? Yeah, Writer's. Oh no, something failed.
something failed. Failed to create resource Aspire dashboard.
Apple crypto security cert. Huh. Rerun the app and see. Because you were able to run the dashboard before.
Yeah. So
So that
let's.
should.
I don't have.
Well, that could be the cause of a problem.
That could be. I don't
Given
have that token. The token.
the token, I couldn't see what the message said. It was too
Well,
small.
in Mac, you have these. I think it did the exception again. So I'll
Yeah,
show
it's going
you.
to it. But
So
did it mention a token? Because if it did, you can see that in the.
see, this is. I always get this keychain, and I don't have a keychain set up. So like,
But it's trying to create one. So
okay, there we go. Okay,
it's
good.
trying to create a keychain because
Yeah,
there's a token that's being saved in that
yeah.
dashboard to make sure that it's really you. So now we can see the database is running, but baseball history, or sorry, the server's running, but the database is still being created. So it's saying running healthy. If you look at it, oh, it's running an unhealthy. That means it's not ready yet, but you notice the web project is waiting. So we can't, it hasn't started the web project yet because it's still building this database. And as you see there, can you scroll down again in that? So there's two health checks that automatically got added. Woody didn't do it. One was for the SQL check. It automatically added a health check that can just check to make sure the SQL server is alive. Then it added a health check for the database table. Now, if we click on the details of that, we might see it. Be probably the over the details, one more column over the other way. No, you had it right. It says name, state, and details. Click on the details one. That's the name one. There
Yep,
you go.
there we go. Cannot open. Login failed.
This is an interesting problem. So, what happens? You're gonna have to stop the app. It's not gonna work now. So what happened is the first time the database gets created, Aspire generates a random password. That random password is used as the SA login. Once that database is created, it continues to log in to that SA with the with that password to do things like create the database or create the database table. We created the server, now we're creating the database. The password has most likely changed when it rebuilt it because it had to build it again, or it was built initially and not saved off because of the runtime error. So let's go and fix that. And this is not documented anywhere. I only know because I figured it out myself. Right click on your Aspire project. Navigate down to Tools, very bottom, and then do .NET User Secrets. So this is where it saves a lot of the hidden stuff. So see that SQL Server password?
Yep.
Delete that.
The whole line or just the password?
The whole line,
Okay.
including the comma above. Click Save. Or I forget,
Yep.
right? You don't have to anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Now go back to Docker.
Hold on.
And delete that database. Stop it first. And then delete. And then go to volumes, see if the volume was created, which it probably was.
Nope.
Well, that should have been it. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me delete that.
And now run the Aspire project again. You might get asked for that key pass again, so type in the same password and then do allow always. Okay, good. So now it's running. Soon that database server is going to be healthy, and then it will start building out the baseball history. And you can tell it's doing that. We can go to Docker Desktop. And I'm only telling you to do this in Docker Desktop because, if you're using Visual Studio, there is one way you can look at Docker and it's different than Rider. So this is a common way. You can click on the actual server, so click there. And then you can see the log as it's doing things.
Failed.
Explicitly specified database.
Well, that was at 136, so that was before.
Oh,
No, that was just now. Okay, well, this might be a good time to break for the hour, and we will get this working and come back tomorrow.
no, Friday, because tomorrow we're supposed to be doing our plugin.
Oh, that's right. We'll come back Friday with
With
this.
this.
Tomorrow is going to be, we're going to talk about our Rider IDE setup and plugins that we use and tools and everything else.
Yeah.
So-
So Woody would go through his, and then I'll go through mine, or I'll go through mine, and then we'll go through his. Either case,
Yep.
just kind of compare.
Yep. Okay, Joe?
Thank you. Don't click the wrong
Okay.
button this time.
Yep. Okay. We will see everyone tomorrow. Bye-bye.